This is the Broad Street Review, and I'm your host, Darnelle Radford. Today on the podcast, Rayne drops by to talk about the upcoming Fringe Arts reading of a new piece in development, New Heaven, New Earth, presented by Shakespeare and Clark Park. Here is my interview with Rayne for New Heaven, New Earth. So just randomly, we're like, they don't even know about this party we're having. The lights are bumping.
Actually, I'm in a house right now where there could be strobe lights. I was asked if I wanted that.
I know it's choose your own adventure. I'm choosing like the what are those, like headphone parties? It's like a silent rave.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I think somebody should do that. Somebody should plan that. That could be like a dinner en blanc. And it just takes over the parkway.
That was so fun.
And everybody's just quietly rocking out.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, everybody. Welcome to the Broad Street Review podcast. This is season 10. This is the first episode of season 10. Can you believe it? Can you stand it? It's a scandal. But we're here after a little summer break. We're here because Fringe Arts is ramping up, over 300 shows in the festival this season, and we are all excited. Everybody has their grid planning how many shows they want to go see in a day. It's the only time we allow that to happen, 5 or 6 shows in one day, and it's great. But throughout the rest of the year, I'm so busy. I can't.
Yeah, right.
Oh, when is your show? Oh, I'm going to be busy that day. But nonetheless, the excitement of Fringe Arts is in the air. Everybody's excited to get sort of ramped up and in the swing of this crazy. And I'm sitting here today with Rayne.
Yeah.
Rayne is everything. Super artist extraordinaire, playwright, deviser, actor. What else? Director?
Director. I do direct. Costume design too. Yeah.
Slay artist.
Yeah.
Well, just make them up because they're like, I like that too. Slay artist.
Crocheter, cat extraordinaire, whisperer. I don't know.
All right. Don't sleep on that crocheter though.
Oh yeah. That's one thing I wish I had more time for this summer. I had so many loved ones like request me crochet them booty shorts. I've only finished like 1 pair.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm like 4 behind, Darnelle. It's crazy.
I know, but be careful because as soon as you show those out, then you're going to sell out.
Everyone's going to want them, yeah.
You're going to have to hire a sweatshop just to get them done.
Oh, no. Shit.
Don't hire a sweatshop.
No, can we curse on the pod? I'm so sorry.
Yes,
okay.
You can.
Hi, Philly Peter. Shit.
I'm gonna say, like, so we're starting a nonprofit. It's called Rayne Crochet.
It's Rayne and Crochet.
Yeah, I know. It's fabulous and fierce. And there's a 6-week wait on your order.
6 years, actually. 6 years.
Because they always producing. So yes. So we've had a little fun. Is everybody having fun? I hope people are dancing while they're washing dishes or doing the laundry, sorting that out. Some vacuuming with the volume up high. That's great. I see you. I see you right there on your Saturday. That's great. But we're here to talk about a reading. We're here to talk about a piece that you're developing right now. And it's had a little bit of feedback from the audience, and now you're ready with some new versions.
Yeah.
And so so tell us about it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, tell us about it. We'll talk about what you've been up to.
Sure. Yeah. The play is called New Heaven, New Earth. It is an adaptation of Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra. I had this idea for this play in particular back in August of last year. So we're filming this in August. So about a year ago, sat down with Seamus, and I brought it to him because I really wanted to investigate the contention around Cleopatra as like a historical figure, but also I wanted to unpack why there were so many like Black Cleopatras that I knew in my life. And and also my last name is Bey, which has a really, really rich and wonderful history that is rooted in like Moorish American tradition. And, you know, you go further back and you start to circle around like Black Israelites and Hoteps and, and Afrocentrism. And it's all kind of like roped like in like the same kind of like school of thought that that I've always like had a fascination with. And have been wanting to unpack as like a Black Philadelphian, especially. And so I wanted to unpack like why folks are so up in arms about the idea of a Black Cleopatra, what Afrocentrism and like the many schools of thought within Black radical tradition, what that actually is talking about when we talk about like Black American identity and Egypt as a country, and also Egypt as an ancient civilization, and what like the reclamation of like who built the pyramids actually like means to the interiorities of Black folk. And I also wanted to talk about empire and the fascination with empire, what it takes to build an empire, and what it takes to destroy one or for one to fall. It felt very pertinent to me. And, this Antony and Cleopatra, Shakespeare's show is a love story, and it's also a war story. So I was really interested in like this idea of there being a love story at the center of all of these like huge, life-altering decisions being made within the world of the play, but also like within the historic context as well. Many people don't know this, or like to selectively forget about it, but like Shakespeare was also an artist, and his Antony and Cleopatra is also a revision of the history. And so when I chose New Heaven, New Earth, like that is pulled directly from the Christian Bible. The Bible was not something that was introduced to Egypt, Rome, for hundreds of years after the fall of the empire. So it's like in a popular way. So I chose that title to sort of like signal back to people that like Shakespeare too was thinking about Marc Antony and Cleopatra as like, figures of history, but also as like figures of intrigue. And yeah, so all of that. And I sat down, I remember that conversation with Seamus, and why Antony and Cleopatra, because Shakespeare and Clark Park is an organization that I worked with in so many different capacities and had to be a Shakespeare show. I was really interested in like breaking open what an adaptation could mean. And in the first iteration of this play in Philly Theater Week, it was about 40% of Shakespeare's language, 60% original, and I completely deconstructed and rewrote the ending to be very, have an original idea and thrust. And so now, like, the gloves are off and I get to do whatever I want. I fulfilled the contract of the commission, and I'm able to like, all right, let's really break this thing open and have some fun through Cannonball and the PTC text and dramaturgy cohort. So yeah, It's very different. Very excited about it.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was thinking about last season Quintessence Theater Group did Antony and Cleopatra.
Yes, I saw that production. Yeah,
and Cleopatra was a Black woman.
Yes, yeah, she did a fabulous job too.
I've never necessarily given it deep thought, but I always thought that juxtaposition was a conversation of power and the assumption of power. And when you walk out of the performance, you kind of have a question in your head, like, was that love or was that control or was that power?
Yeah.
And was it real? And so there's many moments where they're just like, well, it's like both sides of their brain are trying to move them forward, and there's conflict, of course, and then everyone else on both sides just feeding their brains, on top of how they feel about each other.
Right.
It's it is. I never really thought about how complex the piece is. But yeah, I mean, everything you said about like why this piece was already getting my gears going, saying like, oh my God, yeah. I'm just looking at it going, this is beautiful, stunning, like I just, Cleopatra's portrayed as like just being, everybody can't take their eyes off him.
Yeah. And she gets in, and even in her, like, even in the historical record, her depictions of Cleopatra many of them have been lost to history, but many of them have also been distorted. There was a lot of propaganda coming out of Rome during the time of her and Antony's affair. I'll just use very broadly. And a lot of like question of her as an Egyptian queen that was emphasized a lot in the propaganda. This like emphasis in like what it meant to have like a foreign culture in in opposition to Rome. In Greece, even though she was, descended of the Ptolemies and was Greek in line. And we put like modern race understanding and specifically this play, my in the contemporary container that I'm working with, that I debuted in another interview earlier this morning to both myself and the organization, and I could talk more about here too. But I was very interested in like, we see her, we as an American audience, we go and we see a production of Antony and Cleopatra, and we recognize a darker skinned woman descendant of African origin as Black, the phenotypically Black. And we understand like what Black means in the American context. Right. And like, and it is, incorrect to put like, modern contemporary racial understanding onto the ancient world. But that also means that the folks that are so like up in arms about preserving the whiteness or the assumed whiteness of Cleopatra can't be, it's a contradiction, because we actually don't know. No one knows. And I think that's part of like why it's so interesting and so and in that question of like, why do we want to pin down, and why are people so like adamant about pinning down who this woman was, when she herself even obfuscated, the way that she was seen, and was obfuscated by the society on purpose in how she was seen during her time for political power. We also know that she wanted to, maintain Egypt's sovereignty. We knew that, and we knew that she, whatever her reasonings were, it was very important for her to do that. And even in Shakespeare's play, when it's framed as a betrayal of Antony, both times that she like pulls her forces from the two wars in Shakespeare's play that we see on stage, but we actually don't know why she, turns her ships around. We don't know that. It could have been very much a part of the political strategy that they both agreed on, and that went awry. But Shakespeare remembered her as as someone who betrayed Antony. But there's also a lot that I think has to do with the misogyny of Renaissance, of like the Renaissance England, and how, in the misogyny too, that maybe they wouldn't have called it that back in the ancient world, but there was definitely a lot of patriarchy coming out of the culture of Rome, and Egyptian society was the opposite of that in a lot of ways. There, like, women were worshipped, and marriage was not the same as the same construct as Roman society. And I think that like Cleopatra as a figure was very outspoken and very, they would say like a siren, like a sexually like free woman, but she was just coming from a different culture, a different place, and there was a lot of like mystery in that, in a lot of fear built around that.
And there were a lot of prudes who, in front of everyone's faces, but those same people behind closed doors.
But that's the thing, though. Like, Roman men were like bathing in public together and openly like having. So like, it's just like, there's contradictions in every point of time in history, and how we remember people was also a big part of why I wanted to, investigate this play. So in my like contemporary context, and like answering the question of like why Antony and Cleopatra, why now? I have in like this modern time, there's a woman, her name is Cleopatra, and she is like this corporate sort of like superstar. She really wants to like, rise to the top of her company, but she is straddled by her mother's impending divorce from her father. Her mother is lower class, has sacrificed a lot to get Cleopatra to where she is today. And Cleopatra feels a very, very, very strong pull to take care of her mother, and in the unhealthy way of like, I want to give my mother a better life. I want to rescue her from her situation. Simultaneously, she's like trying to, progress her career and excel even farther up the ladder in this like corporate structure of this company that she's working for. And she has a love connection with her boss, the CEO of this country, this company. And in an effort to become closer to her mother, who was all but estranged up to this point, Cleopatra is asking herself for the first time, why am I named Cleopatra? And so she goes and she decides to read Antony and Cleopatra because she feels that like that's the easiest way to sort of like get an idea of like who this woman was. She's very interested in like why Black people are so obsessed with this idea of a Black Cleopatra, and she wants to take a shortcut, and she reads the Shakespeare play. So in the time that she's like stealing away from her very real conflict in her office, outside of the office, in her affair with her boss, and a scandal that occurs in her world, in her reality, she is simultaneously digesting Shakespeare and seeing herself and her co-workers and her lovers through the eyes of these characters. And it's very, very cool. I'm very excited about this idea. It's sort of all unlocked for me within like the last week or two. After doing so much reading this summer on all of the things, maybe too many things, because I really came out of Philly Theater Week thinking, okay, everyone loved this version of the script. This is also the safest version of the script I could ever write. Right. And like, I really wanted to give myself permission to really just go as far as I wanted in making this show as wholly original as possible. And still, the challenge of what would it mean to use Shakespeare's language? What would it mean to actually like have an opinion on Shakespeare within the play and have it make sense and not have it not be a show about someone doing a show that is Antony and Cleopatra, which to me feels like another safe way of doing an adaptation. So I was really interested in the psychology of Black folk, the psychology of like sedity Black folk in class, and like what it means to also discover that a system in an institution actually is not working for you and for the people that you want to, hold dear in this world, and what it means to maybe literally burn down that system, and then what happens after, right? Because I think that part of my charge as a playwright especially is to envision the world that we may not live to see, and to really just like leave the audience with an opinion. I've been kind of like exhausted by the idea and then the very real thing that I think is very hip right now that I want to challenge myself to work through, which is like leaving the audience with more questions, and like ending on a question. I want to try to answer that question with this play and then have people disagree or have people agree or have people fall somewhere on the spectrum. But I want to tell a clear, focused story through our modern Cleopatra, who is envisioning herself as the ancient Cleopatra, and through all of her, friends, lovers, enemies, and co-workers, which, in this story, New Heaven, New Earth.
First of all, thank you. I love that you broke it down the way you did.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's all food for thought. It's like, I'm telling the story. I'm just giving you a viewpoint to think about when you walk away. Like, I'm going to bookend this, but it's not over. You know, how did you feel about how this ended? What does it make you think about now? And this is why the classics are so timeless, because we keep comparing them to present day. We're looking at what were they trying to say then? And does it still resonate today? And what is the response today?
Right.
To the questions they were asking back then. And I love how you've modernized it and allowed them to go back to the text.
Yeah.
To make sense of their present, and I just think that's a great way to sort of bring it all back around. And especially I can imagine for people who already know the original story to get that layer presented to them like that. Mm-hmm. Wow. So what I was thinking about when you said it got really great feedback in April, do you feel a sense of obligation to the response of early audiences? If someone says like, "Oh my God, that was great, don't change a thing," and you already know you have several changes in the works, right? Does it make you rethink things if somebody has fallen all over something you're about to lift from this story? Maybe you'll use it somewhere else, but it's just like, it's not where I want the story to go, even though that was a great moment.
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on where I'm at in the process of the development of the thing. Back in April, that was literally the first time I was ever hearing it out loud, that version of the script. So in my head, it was like not even like the first draft. It was like draft 0.5. And if you think about like, from the time of being commissioned so generously, like end of August to April, I'm learning that I'm actually quite a luxuriously slow, sort of meditative, ruminating kind of playwright. And so for me, that was extremely fast in terms of like the turnaround and like really figuring out a strong idea and direction forward for whatever this iteration of this piece would be. And so like hearing the audience response to it was really heartening and really like it made me feel like, oh, this works. I can tell like a successful piece of theater. It was engaging and kept everyone, wanting more from me as an artist. But it was such an early, in my head, it was such an early like ground zero kind of like proof of concept that was a full story, but still a proof of concept. And like, I guess my ambition for like what I want the play to ultimately be and say and do. So yeah, I listen what I hear. I think that like, affirmation is great. And also it depends on the project. But with New Heaven, New Earth, I knew that I wanted to really, break open the thing once I had the opportunity to, and felt like I had the opportunity to in a way that was like, not just catering to a specific audience. And I love Shakespeare and Clark Park, but you've seen Clark Park in the bowl. It's very different than even the direction, the beautiful direction Seamus is taking some of the shows on tour and now indoors. They did a Christmas show last year, which is very exciting. And so, go ahead.
And you have to take it with a grain of salt too.
Yes.
They may just be responding to the fact that they were entertained, that everything lined up for them tonight, and this was a great bookend. And also, you're paying attention to everything during the process too. If you're in the space,
right?
You're taking in everyone's responses, but you're also taking in how these lines have been delivered and whether any lines were missed, and like, did your true message come through? Or sometimes people are just so willing to support something that, you can't really count on their response because it could come from anywhere, but you just have to take it all in and kind of like, like I said, a grain of salt. You take it all in and say, what am I thinking? And what is this response? Does this response change what I'm thinking?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I was literally hiding and listening. I was like on my back in the booth upstairs in the theater Christchurch and and like listening to the play happen around me. It was magical and disorienting and all of the things. But I think that, but ultimately as a theater artist, you are writing for people. You're writing for that everyday person that may not, go to see the shows all the time, but want to be entertained simply. You may be writing for, and in that way you can't write for everyone. And I think that like, especially as I grow as a playwright, I am more specific about the kind of audience that I want to write for. But ultimately, if this show is for Black, my mission statement is to center, to tell stories of transformation that center Black folk. So my shows aim to center Black folk, and there are audiences that don't want to see that work. But one thing that they won't be able to say about my show is that it wasn't entertaining. So like that's sort of like where I'm at. I'm also like very, very, I love feedback as a playwright. I think it's coming from my background as an actor. I love directors. I think that directors are some of like the smartest people in the world. My partner's a director, a very good one. Shout out to Ryan. But like, yeah, I love, especially when theater artists get in the room and really do like the nice, meaty, juicy thing of like, what is this line doing? Or like, do we need this scene? Do we mix it up and do so that's also my devising sort of like impulse of like, let's break it open or like create something from nothing. So that's the feedback that I ultimately listened to early on, but like 7 drafts in and the next reading that happens is leading to a production, then I want to know if the audience is responding. And there's of course there's usually and hopefully checkpoints along the way. So I'm not just like writing blind and, in our little inside baseball sort of like theater rehearsal rooms. But yeah, I walked away from April really excited to grow the piece. To grow the piece in a direction that I don't think anyone would have expected. I certainly didn't 2 weeks ago, and I was like, aha, this is what it means, and this is what I'm going to try next, with it.
Before we go today, you have to talk about your cast.
Oh my gosh. Wonderful cast. Geez. Many of the original cast is returning. We've got Wilma Hothouse members. We've got Ross. We've got Kishia, who is also Wilma Hothouse and a really dear friend of mine. We've got Catherine Carey. We've got Dante Bertelli, who was in a Bottom Stream with me, if you remember, if you saw that show. We've also got Karen Smith on drums. This is I think the third time Karen and I have collaborated closely on a project. She's amazing. Recent Pew Fellow last year, too. Shout out to Karen. We've also got Adam Howard, who is a beautiful actor who I've also had the pleasure of working with a few times. In varying capacities. Let's see. Last time I was asked this question, I forgot Ross, which was very, or I forgot. Yeah. So let me just make sure I have everyone on the list. I've been in playwright brain and not producerial brain.
Ross is so wonderful.
Ross is amazing. Ross is literally our Marc Antony, and that just shows you how in my own brain world I've been trying to do these edits. I feel like playwriting is such a solitary art form up to a point, and then suddenly you're like, whoa, there's people, and they're filling my world, and and they're watching my world on stage live, and I have no control. Yeah, but I've got everyone. So just reiterating: Kishia Nixon, Ross Belcher, Adam Howard, STARFIRE. I forgot STARFIRE. STARFIRE. Dante Bertelli, Catherine Perry, and then Seamus is directing. Karen Smith is our live musician.
It's all in the chat with the link to get tickets.
Yeah,
you definitely do that. I wanted to ask you before we leave. What do you need as a storyteller?
What do I need
to really bring your work to life? It could be anything. It could be, I need rent covered for 3 months. I need Instacart every 2 days. Just come to my house with everything I want.
Man.
Or what kind of things have to be out of the way, or what sort of space do you need
time
in order to let your ideas shine?
I mean, I mean, like the easy answer would be like money and time. So like a trust fund, but ultimately, but I haven't had that ever. In
Writing
my
that
life.
down.
Never will.
Trust
fund, trust funds. No, but the next best thing is people. I think I need people. I need people that are that provide, that give me a soft place to land, and don't and believe in me and don't push me to create when I'm not inspired to or ready to. And I've been really blessed to, for the most part in my career, and I am young and hopefully I'll have a long career, and continue to find these people. I've been really, really blessed to have a community of folks that have given me that. And have been so generous with their resources, with their time, with their network, with their literal houses and venues. Like I have been really, really blessed. And people embody the work that I do as a playwright. There is no play without people to play with it,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just...
Well, you know what they say? People who need people are the luckiest people in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what Barbara says.
Is that Barbara from where?
Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand.
People who need people.
Oh my gosh.
Are the luckiest people in the world.
Okay. Fun fact. I'm gonna get in trouble for a lot of this. I used to do a lot of musical theater and I left because I didn't enjoy most of the people that I met.
Oh man.
So my knowledge, it's been a block for me.
my other podcast primarily talks about Broadway, and I'm constantly jamming in quotes from Broadway musicals.
Well, maybe I need to tackle my trauma head on and just listen to your podcast religiously.
Who knows? Maybe there's a story in that.
Oh my gosh!
In that resistance,
you'll get a call from me. Life rights.
Absolutely. Hey, could you sign this? It's nothing fancy. Right. Just this 90-page document. There's a few initials, a long form. You have to write a paragraph in one spot.
Right. Remember when I said I needed people? I meant your story, your life. Please.
Let me borrow. Just let me hold it for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's okay. The piece is called New Heaven, New Earth. It's a revisionist history with live music. It's written by Rayne. It's been directed by Seamus and has a wonderful team of artists in our community. Some of them Barrymore nominated.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's on stage September 1st and the 16th at the Proscenium at the Drake. This is part of Fringe Arts, Philly Fringe Festival. Anything else I miss? Is it?
Go ahead.
Isn't it also? Aren't you part of a hub? Right?
Yeah, I'm a part of the PTC Text and Dramaturgy cohort at Cannonball. Come see all of our shows. Yeah, it's great.
And also, just to let people know, when you search for tickets for Fringe Arts, you can search by hub. If you only want to go to certain location because it's near your house, there's so many. They've broken it down. They've made it so easy for you to pick through 300 shows. And you should definitely scroll through there and look for New Heaven, New Earth, and go get that ticket, be a part of that conversation. And get tickets as plural because theater is more fun with a +1.
Mm-hmm. It's at the Drake, the venue.
It's at the Drake, yeah.
The Proscenium at the Drake.
Yeah, so you got that. And thank you. Thank you for chatting with me, unpacking this. And you have such a clear view of the story you're trying to tell. And I think that's just wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mm-hmm. And it's just exciting that you pulled all these artists together and that Shakespeare in Clark Park presents, allowing this to come forward and find its true place in the conversation. So Rayne, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this reading.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for talking.
All right. So this is the beginning of my Fringe coverage. There will be much more, but this is one of the shows that you should add to your lineup. So go ahead and do that, and we'll catch you soon in the next episode.
All right.
It's truly been a pleasure chatting with you today. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. To get involved with Broad Street Review, head on over to the website at www.broadstreetreview.com to find out how. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.